Podcast number 3. Let's talk about the industrialization of the weapons. This was the first truly industrialized war. That is very important to remember. Here we see images of the machine gun, much different and much more deadly than the Gatling gun repeating rifle in the Civil War 100 years earlier. Here we see the tank. The tank was cumbersome at the beginning, slow and methodical, 3 to 4 miles per hour. It was in direct response to the stalemate provided by trench warfare. Trench warfare was a stalemate. No side advanced. So they had to find a way to get to the other trench without being mowed down by the machine guns. Therefore, the tank is very, very important in World War I. But we do not see it becoming important decisively in battles till the end of World War I. It was mainly used to get troops advanced across no man's land. Here are some images of the tank. We see the British tank, different tracks. German tank, a little boxier style with smaller tracks on the bottom. And the French, who innovated the tank and created the 360-degree turret on the top. Most tanks were clumsy and cumbersome, very hot inside, and not very welcoming to the people that had to drive them. Submarines. Germans called them U-boats. These were very important. We see the first submarines really in the Civil War, but they were just big hunks of steel that did not have much of an advantage against the enemy. Here we see the submarines being used for sleek and underwater and surprise attacks. This is where the Germans bombed the Lusitania with their torpedo, killing 126 Americans and really getting America perking their ears to become involved into this world war. Airplanes are important in this war. First time they are used for reconnaissance early in the war, observation and reconnaissance. Then they are used as technology advances with machine guns are then mounted on airplanes as well as bombs. Here's some images of a German plane, triplane, 3 wings. The Red Baron was one of the most famous aces on the German side. We also see images of airplanes that did not do so well in World War I. We still see technology coming of age, and within less than 20 years in World War II, the airplane is instrumental in changing the tide of war. Zeppelins were like large blimps filled with helium, a combustible gas that was often dangerous. These were often used for giving troop advancements away through observation, as well as bombs and troop transport. Here we see the outer casing of a Zeppelin that was brought down. Very dangerous. Animals used in World War I were dogs used to fight the war for a variety of uses, to find wounded soldiers, run messages between trenches, and to haul people and weapons. Field mascots, billy goat, as well as a little kitten. These were important even just for the psyche of the individual in the trenches, to make them feel better, to make them give them a sense of home. Horses, used in World War I often, carrying cannons. We are still in the Industrial Revolution, Industrial Age, so we don't see jeeps and fast-moving transport vehicles until World War II. Carrier pigeons were also used. The telegraph and telegram, telephone were not as abundant during this time period, which we see changes the face of war in World War II. We also have poison gas during this time period. Did not really provide a huge advantage to either side. It just caused a lot of headaches and a lot of problems, but it was not decisive in any battle. Here's some images of gas masks. German propaganda. Even on their horses, they had to have gas masks. Here's a map of trench warfare. We see that 6,000 miles of trenches were put up on the Western Front through France, protecting a major city of Paris. Here's another example. Here's Paris being defended by the trenches. See, we see very, very close trench to the German side. That's why they came down through Belgium to then advance into France farther than they could if they advanced over and through Germany. Trench warfare was awful. Cramped. Often lice and rats were abundant. And this was also a war of attrition. Each side tries to wear down the other side with constant attacks. It is an attempt to run the other side out of food, weapons, and manpower. And it was a total war. All of a nation's resources go into the war effort. It was fought at home as well as on the battlefield. How can we fight a war at home? Many times we see that people at home go into the factories. Women who would normally be helping out in the home go into the factories to help build things for the war effort. Did anyone really win? In 1917, Russia withdraws and the U.S. enters the war. And in 1918, September and Bulgaria and Austria withdraw. In the end, the Allied powers were victorious with Germany's surrender on November 11, 1918. An armistice or agreement to end the fighting was declared, but the costs of the war were enormous. 9 to 10 million die, 17 to 20 million are wounded, with famine threatening the regions, and disease becomes widespread due to the destruction of the land. The economic losses were huge. Economic meaning money. Factories, farms, and homes were destroyed, as well as a large national war debt to repay, which really hurts Germany, decimates their economy, and gives Adolf Hitler the fuel for his Mein Kampf. The Allies insist Central Powers should make reparations, and that is what destroys the German economy.